the fact that we started working with Jack just to get our management team to think differently, to operate differently, was preparation for a time like this. And, from my perspective, it's been incredibly important to really develop a great sense of situational awareness, which has helped us through a lot of other crises that we've gone through in the bank. This is probably, I think it's going to turn out to be the most significant one we've ever gone through before. And, I start off with, we've been preparing for this. I've been trying to promote within my company that, we're all in this together. We either sink or we swim together. And that's not something that I started 2 weeks ago. That was something that, from the founding of the company, we've had very, very strong core values. We've had a very strong culture at Connect One Bank. Those are things that people today are relying upon to be able to make their decisions. We are asking people today to take decisive actions with little information, without a lot of benefit of, a tremendous amount of data or whatever. They have to rely upon what they learned over the last number of years. And we have to learn how to rely on each other. And that's something that we've been building towards to get to this moment. One of the other things that I think is critically important in this time, I've actually tweeted about it and written about it, is we gotta zone out the noise. Everyone's turning on the TV and everyone's listening, to everything that's going on around them. We have a business to run. We've got 425 people to worry about. We've got 10,000 clients, or I'm sorry, 100,000 clients that we're responsible for. So it's incredibly important to zone out all the extraneous noise, focus what's going on at hand. Act on the information and the data that's presented to you. Control the things you can control and keep moving forward. I also, have told everyone on my team, and they've heard this from me for years and years and years, it's part of our culture. Every single person in my company has heard this. If you really believe in our culture and you really believe in the core values that we have, and you can recite those core values, and you use those as a tool in order to create the decision-making tree for any decision you need to make, whether it's the coronavirus impact or anything else, you'll never make a decision for the wrong reason. And so I've really worked hard with my team to get them to understand that making the right decision isn't what the world's all about. It's about making decisions for the right reason. And in our company, we have certain things we hold true, right? We are client first. We act with a sense of urgency. We look to make an impact. We're forward thinking. And so anytime someone came across any decision in our company, we asked them to put it through those core values. And if you could answer all of those things, chances are you come up with the right decision. So asking people to not worrying about what is the right decision, but can you make that decision for the right reasons? I think in this kind of an environment where there's all of this extraneous noise going on around you is incredibly useful and gets the best out of your people. And the other thing, there's a cousin to that, right? So you have to have a culture too where we're not criticizing folks that don't make the right decision, or that in hindsight we look back and say, gee, we could have done something else. If they made it for the right reason, we got to be there to support them. And then the second cousin to that is, okay, that was yesterday. We have new information today. We have more information today. We have more data today. We learned that something we didn't work. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed to course correct. Our entire journey here over the last 3 weeks or so has been nothing but a series of course corrections. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a sailor, I'm a pilot. I speak in navigation terms, I speak in aviation terms. And when you're flying an airplane, yeah, you could have a plan of what you're going to do. You're sailing a boat, you could have a plan, but the wind doesn't cooperate. The weather conditions don't cooperate. The tides don't cooperate. You can only control so many things. And so it's critically important that we're constantly course correcting based on the information at hand that is given to us. and that you have a team that's comfortable saying, yeah, we made that decision yesterday, but screw that, we're doing this today because now we've got a new piece of information. And not have people feel bad about it, get down about it, actually get excited that, hey, we made the right decision. We made the decision for the right reason yesterday. We got new information today. We think we're going to do something better. Let's go do it and feel challenged to do that. We've got to get our folks comfortable with that ability to understand that we can make mistakes as long as we made them for the right reason. Now, on the flip side of that, if there's anybody on our team who doesn't follow our core values, who doesn't do the things that we hold dear to us, we're going to kick those people right off the team. We're going to say, hey, listen, you're not making decisions for a good reason, and we're going to kick you to the side. So it's incredibly important to keep those things in front of mind. This concept of controlling what you can control, relates back to this, drown out the noise concept. To me, has been incredibly important now. We're having, I created a critical action team. We're having daily meetings, daily huddles with various parts of the company. And it's amazing how all this extraneous information tries to seep its way into the decision-making process. And it's my job to keep, reminding everyone, hey, listen, can we control that? No. Okay, well then forget it. I don't even want to know about it. Because if I can't control it, I don't want to spend time worrying about it. I only want to worry about the things, and I only want to deal with the things that I can actually control and influence. And so you will find that people in general, it's why the media is what it is. The media loves to generate, these headlines of things that we can't control, create fear. It sells newspapers, but that's not good for us as leaders. We need to create a safe environment for our employees. They have to feel that management's in control. They have to feel that we are controlling the things we can. They want a sense of direction. They want a sense of togetherness. We have to provide that for them. And one of the ways in which we do that as well, which was another thing that I've been beating into everyone's head since 3 weeks ago, I've actually outlawed anyone from using any negative language. Now, if you'd have gone back 3 weeks ago and you would have listened to one of the first loan reports that we got about, how our clients are faring or what we think how they're going to fare in this crisis, you would have heard things like, oh my God, they're not going to make it. It's the end of the world. These are scary times. This is awful. Every one of our clients is going to default. And so I basically outlawed the use of certain words. You can't use the word can't. You can't use the word not. You can't use the word don't. You can't use any negative connotating term. And so you'd be amazed if you saw some of the emails and some of the correspondence that my team is now generating, where we are looking at some of the deepest, worst scenarios, and yet we are speaking about them in positive ways. We're talking about the things we can do. We're advising clients of what we are able to do for them. We are advising them what they should be thinking about doing for themselves. We're not telling them what we can't do. We're telling them what we can do. And so that change in language, it's just amazing how that's filtered through the entire organization, and people have really latched onto that and feel like it's a turning point where, people are now rallying around this new lexicon that we use, and that everything needs to be in the positive, right? I mean, there were lessons that you all learned. Your mother always said, if you didn't have something good to say, don't say anything, right? So it's the same kind of thing here. It's like that old joke, right, about the attorney with the client. He says, no, I didn't beat my wife yesterday. Well, okay, why are you using the words not? Let's talk about what we are doing. Let's talk about the things that we can do. And so, but again, that's leadership, right? I also empowered everybody on my team. I said, listen, you are all leaders, and we all have to act in an appropriate fashion. And when I say appropriate fashion, I had to remind everyone today, we have 85% of our company is working from home. They are required to follow the dress code. I'm sorry. I want everyone waking up in the morning, taking a shower, getting dressed, showing up at their desk at the right time, being available for their clients. And if they're going to use a video conference, I want them to look like they're supposed to look like at Connect One. They represent the company. And part of that is just setting the mind around, hey, you know, we all look the same, we all feel the same, we all value the same things. You know, it's that old adage about when you answer the phone, if you're smiling when you're talking to the other person, they hear it, they see it, they sense it, they feel it. So, you know, to me, it's keeping routines. It's making sure that everyone is in a steady state. These are all important things, I think, as we're going through what are incredibly challenging times. And lastly, I've implored everyone in the company, if you're going to make a mistake about something around communication, over communicate. Don't under communicate. Make certain that we are talking as a team. We've opened up incredible numbers of channels for people to talk, communicate, email, chat, use WhatsApp, use social, whatever it is. I don't really care, but over communicate the messages, because when you have some 350 people that are working from home, it's really easy for people to get buttonholed and lost in the mix. And so I'm doing town hall calls 2 and 3 times a week. I communicate with my board. I'm communicating with our investor groups. I'm communicating with our clients. Our social media presence is on high alert. So to me, it's over communicate. And lastly, don't forget something. You all have teams. You all have people who report to you. You all have people who work for you. Don't forget that in the most trying times, people revert back to what their human nature is. And it's up to us as leaders. Don't forget, what we do every day is we take a bunch of people who have different skills and different capabilities, and we forge them into a team, and we get them to want to move forward and fill in for each other's, you know, whatever's missing in each of our individual people. We need to remember that people will revert back to exactly what they are. They will fall back on the weakest link of their personalities. And we need to be there as leaders to support that, to know that that's going to happen, and to create environments. There are things I do today about calling meetings, and you know, we have a happy hour every day at 5 o'clock, a virtual happy hour. I do it because I want to be there to support people that are going to get close to the breaking point for what breaks them. And so there are things that we do that somebody else would look at and say, well, that makes no sense. But we do it because I know I have a weakness in a particular area, and we have to support that weakness. And I'll shut up there, Jack, unless there's something you want to ask me specifically.
Yeah, no, Frank, that was awesome. The only thing I would ask you specifically is, and you sort of got to it, is sort of the massive anxiety that people are feeling, both in terms of how they're dealing with your customers and how they're dealing with, you know, the potential for if this thing goes on for a long time, you know, their paychecks, and how are you helping them?
We've done a couple of basic things, right? So right at the outset, we told people that for as long as we could, we would pay everybody. Okay, we gave out spot bonuses. We took care of our hourly workers that we knew were not going to work hard. When we closed branches and we furloughed people, we paid them to stay home. We made announcements that, hey, if you have a sick one home and you need to take care of them, we're all one big family. You go home and take care of your family member. You're going to get paid. Don't worry about that. To the extent that we can do that, great. I think everyone understands. I said, hey, to the extent we can do this, we will. There may come a day when we can't, but for now we can, we will. We will do everything we can to help support you. So that's first, right? People want to know that they're financially secure. And to the extent that we can do that, we will. And I think that drives a lot of great will. The second thing we do is I tell people, hey, look, I don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So again, under this premise of let's control what we can control, we will think about what's going to happen tomorrow. We will think about what we think a week from now is going to look like, but we got tasks we got to deal with today. And so I just had this conversation this morning. I got into a big brouhaha with a number of people on my team. You know, they're telling me about things that aren't going to work next week. And I'm like, listen, next week is next week. Like, can we get, you know, function A and function B done by the end of today? And the answer was yes, but what's going to happen next? No, forget about next week. Can we get A and B done today? That's the goal. I want it done. Tell me when it's done, and then we'll worry about the next step. Because if you let people just start thinking about what is not going to work tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, you get nothing done. Then you don't do what you're supposed to do today. And then there's no chance you're going to get done what you need to get done next week. So sometimes you've got to focus people away from the long-term goal. It's just like anything else, right? In battle and anything, we need to focus on the short-term battle. I can't worry about, that the internet may go down next week, that people are having issues with other things. I can't worry about that. I have to worry about what I have right now, and I'm going to deal with that at this moment in time. And that's the job of all of us as the executive management team, to make certain that all our teams are focused in the right way, to keep everyone focused on the same things, and to have those wins. By the way, if you focus on things today and you accomplish those things today, people say, hey, wow, we did that. It feels good. Now people go into next week with a whole different mindset. And a lot of times, as we all know, mindset gets us to the finish line, not the actual, if you said to someone, hey, you're going to do this, 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 and this, and you need it all done in the next 2 weeks, you go, what are you, crazy? You can't do that. Yet, if you break it down into its individual pieces, and you get the piece done today, and then the piece done tomorrow, and tomorrow afternoon you get, oh, wait a minute, we got a little ahead on that. Oh, great, let's move this, let's do that. Hey, I found a new way to do something here. Okay, great. Before you know it, you're at the finish line. It's like, oh shit, how did that happen? If I had $1 for every time someone told me, you're crazy, we can't do that, I'd be a very wealthy man.
So I also started with Frank because I thought it would bring some entertainment value with his accent.
Sorry, I can't help my Italian. Without my hands, I can't talk.
Yeah, one of the things that, from talking with guys like you and with Rob and John Goodwin and Brunson Cooper, and Bob Roark, just over the last week or so, is the common theme is dealing with the CEO's got this really hard job always, but a harder job now, in that it's your job to think long-term and get the rest of the team focusing on today. Cause you still have to deal with holy crap, what happens with the, our biggest customers from your perspective, Frank, that are going to go into default, or what happens, Brunson, when, Maryland decides to shut down construction, or, it's all, you got to think, you got to anticipate some of those things. The critical thing for you is also getting your folks focusing on today and what they can control today. And that's kind of one of the lessons I've been kind of hearing from you guys. So any questions you guys have before we move on to Rob for Frank? Come on, there's got to be some questions.
Hey, yeah, well, hey, Jack, it's John.
Hey, John.
Frank, that was great. First of all, I love the outlawing the negative language. I'm going to take that for a spin. Absolutely love that.
Good luck.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm not sure I can pull it off.
Frank, notice he's got the Jets outfit on there.
Yeah. You'd be fired at my
You think COVID virus is tough, right? We won the Super Bowl when I was 3.
Yeah, awesome. I'm a Jets fan now.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good. We could commiserate together sometime. Yeah, so, we're a much smaller business than you. We got 17 employees and 25 clients, and we're a public relations firm and all that jazz. And right now, and this is for everybody really, I'm curious, my biggest challenges are morale, which Frank really spoke well to, because we've had a couple of layoffs, and I had 2 on Friday that the company doesn't know about, that I'll tell them about on Monday. And then obviously cash flow, we haven't lost clients, but shaking the trees for the money now is more daunting than ever. And obviously the third piece is business development. No one's signing new contracts with us right now. And I don't know about you guys, but it seems like everything's just in a holding pattern until we see when the world opens up again. So those 3 things, I'd love to get everybody's perspective on. And then a quick shout out to Mark Stevenson. Mark, Jen from your company, I've been working with Mark. Mark has an HR firm, for those of you guys who don't know. It's and Jen has been working with us, and she's been invaluable as we've gone through this painful process, and super helpful. So thanks to Mark. Just a little shout out there. But I'm just curious on those fronts if anybody's got any.
I'll take a look at the new government SBA program, which will allow you to pay those staff workers even though they're sitting at home, and basically it's a write-off from the government. So you should definitely look into that. I can send you some information if you send me your contact information about it. To me, that would be number one, because again, people with a full stomach, they're, they feel good about the situation. On the other matters, I don't know. I would have to know more about your business to help you with advice, but you can't do anything if your people are running scared. The people that are not, that are currently working, again, speak in positive tones. We need to talk to those people and say, hey, yes, so-and-so is no longer with us, but we had to do that so that you guys can stay on with the company, and we together are going to do what we're going to do. So they need to feel good about the decision, not feel bad about the decision you made. So again, this speaking in positive terms to me is critical. There's always going to be bad news. There's always going to be things that are not positive. But believe it or not, you can find a way to say anything in a positive term. If I took those words out of your language and forced you to speak, you will find a way to say those things.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank. Thank you.
Anyone else got anything for John?
Hey, Jack, it's Bill. I'm not sure how to raise my hand.
Hey, Bill, got you. So we see you.
I'll just do it manually. First, Frank, thanks for some great positive comments. I'm with the American Financial Services Association, and if you can shoot what you've got on SBA to Jack, and Jack shoot it around to everybody, because we represent banks and finance companies, the auto industry and the like, and right now there's a heck of a lot more questions than answers when it comes to the SBA. I've spent the morning talking to some bankers that we had runs on the grocery stores and toilet paper a couple weeks ago, and then there was it looked like there was going to be a run on cash. Now you got a lot of banks that are nervous how we're going to get $350 billion through the pipeline. And anybody who's dealt with SBA knows they're just not equipped for it.
So not to create a commercial, but we bought a company last summer called Bowfly. They're actually at the tip of the spear of the SBA program. And we are working, and I will share it with everyone, a link to them. They're sort of an intermediary. They will be able to gather information from you, your clients, package it up for an SBA loan, and be able to deliver it back to other banks to process, make it a very, very simple process. People don't need to go anywhere else. I'd be happy to share that, and and there'll be contact information in there. So again, I think that'll be a helpful thing. But let me tell you, every single person on this call probably qualifies for the SBA program. You should know about it. It is basically a payroll enhancement program. It is to do exactly with what I just heard before. You can continue to pay your people, and the government's going to pick up the tab. You can pay your rent, you can pay your mortgage, you can pay your electric bill, you can pay your insurance bill, and basically government picks up the tab for it. So great program.
Yeah, if you haven't started getting calls from your clients and members and customers on this, you guys can expect to be getting them very soon, even before the end of the day. And it's folks are scared, and like I said at the outset, I really appreciate your positive comments. I've told my team, we're based on member dues, and this is really an opportunity for us to shine and deliver for our members information that the point of over communicating can't be stressed enough. The feedback we're getting from our member companies is just overwhelming, because they're out there flying blind. They're outside the beltway. They don't have access to the contacts that we do, and they're trying to get information to their customers, their employees, their investors, their boards, and every little piece of information is like a godsend. So, you know, my team is really pretty jazzed about us being able to demonstrate the value of the association at this point in these hard times. At the same time, everybody's scared. So, you know, I think kind of balancing those things and staying focused on a few things is right on the money.
Thanks, Bill. Any other questions for Frank or comments? Rob, let's hit you, Rob. Rob Jensen from Amy.
Hi, everybody. So let me manage expectations. I'm not an aviator or a sailor, so I was in the Marines. So I was a Marine, so my language will not be nearly as articulate as Frank. So let me look at Jack. You mentioned tactical, strategic, and emotional. So let me kind of tackle each one of those just with a short summary. From a strategic perspective, just as background, Amy's about a 50-person employee base with about 3,000 volunteers per year that help us develop standards. So while our paid staff is a small number, it gets very large very quickly with engagement in standards and education. So from a strategic standpoint, a couple of years ago, we realized that we were well out of alignment with today's technologies and spent about $1 million so far over the last couple of years upgrading all these technologies. And in a lot of senses, we were very lucky in terms of timing because we were able to field almost all of that last year. And we've moved people, about 50% of the staff or 60% does at least one day a week at home. So there was some level of confidence moving into the to the pandemic that gave people a little bit of buoyancy, if you will, and confidence in their ability to handle the move. We'd also been working on cultural changes for the vast majority of the past 4 years, and moving away from, we were undoubtedly the most siloed 50-person organization you could ever imagine, and we are now have moved pretty effectively into the high-performing team platform, and certainly my leadership team is there, and some of it is moving effectively down. I couldn't agree more with Frank about short-term battles. We have taken on during this time, I think it was interesting that we have a couple of very deep thinking critical items that we've been working with. For example, we're looking at setting up our financial infrastructure, and we're doing that virtually. And it engages 15 or so people. It engages a wide variety of data, and just a Rubik's Cube of multiple perspectives. And I think that kind of focus, actually the tough problems have been, I think, easier for us to work with because it keeps them focused on the future and away from the kind of damaging news and emotional roller coasters that happen when you're catching the Washington Post or the TV. Let's see. From a tactical standpoint, we do a lot of what Frank does, just on a smaller scale. Management team meets every day in the morning for a few minutes as a check-in and a cross-calibration of what's happening across the different departments. We have not missed any delivery of any stakeholder services or products, with one exception, and we had to cancel a small 150-person conference because it just happened just right in the middle of all this going down. Fortunately, because of the government's stand, we lost a few $1,000s, but it was nothing compared to what we would have lost had it not been the case. It's made us move, interestingly enough, faster than we were going to move towards almost a fully fully remote capability in terms of our education courses. We've been upgrading our platforms, and we have a lot of stand-up, both in-house and on-site for our customers. But we've shifted that almost immediately about 6 or 8 weeks ago, and have moved our most productive and profitable courses into the virtual space, and it's been extremely successful. We actually had more people engaged in our courses over the last 4 weeks than we would have expected in a stand-up course. I didn't say anything about what Amy really does. So we are the medical device manufacturer organization for standards and for education around regulatory and standards matters. So not only are we involved in our day-to-day and trying to stay abreast of our strategic plan and our tactical plan for this year, but we are engaged in actually trying to help solve the problem. So we're doing things like we've made our standards free that are relative to sterilization of masks and things like that. We have done the same with moving towards getting the FDA's, actually, let me say this differently, serving as a point of contact for the FDA and their newly published guidance yesterday on the masks. And these pop-ups, interestingly enough, happen literally every day, if not a couple of them a day. So that's the one thing that I'm able to kind of fight off my governance with, who's of course still interested in the long plan.
Right.
They want to know, are we still doing the board meeting in June? And frankly, I can't tell them that yet. So doing these pop-ups on a global basis, both with medical device manufacturers in Europe and Asia, and then right here in the U.S. has been very helpful. We'll also help in some of the ones that are being asked to develop devices, whether it's venture capitalism or in some cases the large automobile companies, to get the right standards put in place to be able to actually build the thing versus create something that's not medically qualified to do the job or has biocompatibility issues. So I also agree with what Frank said about being positive. There's 2 ways that we've reinforced that culturally. One is we sort of have an underlying notion that in chaos there is opportunity, and that's certainly proven out over this particular period. And the other really is that in working with the management team, getting them to get their language really straightened out and to basically guarantee the staff transparent answers to the questions. I think it's been given them a fair amount of confidence. Management also calls each one of their supervised staff members at least every other day. It's just a check-in. They may not have anything. They may have a lot. But I took my first call last night from someone that was legitimately getting ready to have a nervous breakdown over worry about this. And so I think the emotional part of this it's the one thing I worry about that can be hidden. And you got to really, like Frank said, you got to just keep putting out the good vibes and keep checking on whether people are actually feeling okay or not. So let me stop there.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Rob. Maybe I can add. You said something about making your standards free, serving as a point of contact for the FDA on it's sort of this sense of doing what's right, beyond your day to day, and making your customers feel comfortable, making your constituents feel comfortable. how are others, approaching that? Because I'm sure we all have customers. We all have to do stuff that's different today than.
I lost your volume there for
You
a second.
did again
Jack.
there, Jack.
Yeah. What are some other ways you're dealing with that sort of greater good, like looking out for your customers, your vendors, like that type of thing that may be different now than it was 3 weeks ago?
Right. So we have the fortune and sometimes misfortune of knowing supply chains and vendor capabilities and who's willing to step forward in the times of crisis like this, or uncertainty in terms of payment and all that. So it's really just about lighting up that network. For everybody else's knowledge, I think Jack knows this, but others may not. We're an association, but we do not lobby. So we are often seen as kind of the independent gatherer of information and sharing and all of that kind of thing. And so while it's happening internally, both in supply chain and manufacturing and even logistics, the other thing that happens at the top level for me and my COO is we're reaching out to other associations in related industries like the pharmacy industry, research industry regarding this, and just sharing with them what we're doing and trying to keep the home fires burning as far as people doing the right thing.
Yeah. How about others related to that, sort of, being a good advocate for your customers and stuff?
Yeah, the researchers have, the research associations have really leaned into it. I think this is a conservative estimate, but I bet there's at least 50 organizations working 24 hours a day on a vaccine. And then there's an untold number that are working on testing pharmaceuticals that are already proven against the virus and seeing what we can leverage that's already been out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's as far as I can tell, I haven't seen anyone take a selfish position on anything. And the only organization I'm having trouble getting moving is the International Standards Organization, and they're pretty slow on anything. So.
Hey, Jack, one of the things that I just heard that I thought was really important is this notion of transparency. Our teams are looking for us to be human beings, and with that comes some vulnerability. With that comes not knowing all the answers, not being arrogant. It comes with telling people the good news with the bad. If you just tell everybody all the good news, they're not going to believe you. So, you got to really speak from the heart. You have to tell people the facts. I try not to embellish stuff. I try to tell people this is what it is. This is what we're going to do about it. These are the things we know. These are the things we don't know. These are the things we're going to focus on. These are the things we're going to just let go by the wayside. But this notion of transparency and trust, right? People need to trust us today, that we're going to tell them what's really going on. We had one out of 420 employees, we had one confirmed COVID-19 case. And, we didn't hide it. We took immediate action. We told everyone what was going on. We told everyone what we were doing to try to prevent other cases of it. I think we got a lot of benefit from being completely transparent about what we know when we know it, and being vulnerable to say, hey, look, we don't know. There may be many of you walking around with it. We don't know. These are the things we're going to do. These are the things that we're going to set in place. We're doing it for your protection. And I think that goes a long way today.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'd like to give a shout out to Brunson Cooper here from Cornick Construction, because, tough industry right now to be in. Such, we're all facing uncertainty, but, there total uncertainty in terms of whether they're going to be even doing jobs in 2 weeks or whatever. So I think, you know, I've witnessed Brunson and his team really, you know, just daily communication, transparent, trying to do their best to be positive and not, you know, not sugarcoating anything. No, saying this is, you know, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, and we're just dealing with it as best we can every day. And really, what he's really doing a good job with is what I said before, is like he and his COO are tied at the hip around the longer term and keeping the rest of the team focused on just executing every day and keeping the morale up. So you want to comment on any of that, Brunson?
You hit it on the head. I mean, this last 2 weeks has been just crazy for everyone. You know, we brought Jack in a while ago because, you know, I wanted my executive team to, you know, work together more seamlessly, you know, and kind of understand. We had a lot of emotions going on. And I think with us, I mean, it was right on time because some of the things that I was doing incorrectly and some of the things my team were doing incorrectly, it kind of brought us together. And I actually told Jack just earlier this week when we were in the meeting, I was like, Jack, I really don't want you being here anymore, but, you know, I want to be able to have these conversations without you. So, but, you know, they really, you know, they appreciated I think they really appreciated my COO really appreciated me talking with him morning, day, and night. I mean, we're hooked at the hip right now, and he's really knows that when he's making these decisions or hard decisions, he knows that we're on the same page. And I think that's what our team is really seeing from us. I actually, you know, like Jack said, I told them, look, James and I are going to be focusing on the business and how we're moving forward. You guys have to focus on everything day to day. I said, if you're going to bother us or you're going to come to us, just come to us with precise questions and things that we need to talk about so that you can go right back out there and do what you need to do. And we'll, you know, continue focusing on the future of the company and making sure we're making the right decision.
Yeah.
They were supportive of it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Any more questions you got? Yeah, I guess I'll throw a question out there, you know, because this is brutally hard stuff, right? And so what are the things, what are the biggest challenges and the anxieties that are keeping you up as the CEO? Like, I mean, Frank talked about, you know, and Rob talked about all the stuff that they're doing, but man, like that's like a vision of having Charles Atlas holding up the world, right? I mean, you got to be going through some stuff yourself. So what is that, you know, how are you managing that yourself? How are you managing your own personal well-being throughout all this? And that goes for anyone.
I gotta get out for a walk. My wine cellar is taking a hit.
Yeah.
And I try to fly my plane whenever I can. But, you know, one thing that, I don't know, just got reminded me here was, you know, this concept. I know we say it as a cliche, but get out of your comfort zone. And as leaders, you know, we're being challenged to get out of our comfort zones, even us, right? Even the ones we say you know, we live this life where we're out of our comfort zone. Bullshit. You know, we're always drawn back to our comfort zone. And, you know, what I found over the last week or two is that we've got to make tough calls. And I'll give you just a quick example of, you know, how you get drawn back to that comfort zone. When we had the first reported case of COVID, it was in one of our branch locations. We decided I said, look, we got to close that branch. And my compliance team comes to me and says, we can't close the branch. We got to give 90 days notice. We got to let the regulators know. We got to do this. We got to do that. There's laws. There's, you know, this regulation. I said, whoa, time out. We're in a crisis here. We need to make a decision for the right reason. And I think if we do that, we'll never be criticized by anyone. Let a judge tell me someday that I did something wrong. I'm going to be able to explain it. We closed the branch. I said, okay, get a conference call together with the regulators. And we're not going to wait for them to find out. We're going to tell them what we did. And we collectively made a decision. If they want to smack us over the head for it, great. So we did that. They complimented us on taking the action. And the team learned something, that we did things for the right reason. And so therefore, I stood in the court of common sense, which I think gets lost in all this. And we were I always say, hey, would a reasonable man agree with this decision? But listen, no joke to do something that the regulators tell you can't do.
Yeah.
Now, since then, the regulators have actually encouraged banks to close branches and do what they need to do. But 3 weeks ago, that wasn't the case. And when we did it, it was like, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. So, again, I think for all of us, and I've heard various, components of that story, you guys are going to have to make tough decisions. And so make them for the right reason, and you'll be vindicated.
Bill.
Yeah,
Bill.
I was just going to say, in terms of working with regulators, having been through this in 08 and 09 and with the financial crisis and now, a lot of our regulators are very skittish, and, I understand what you're saying, Frank, in terms of them saying no. But we're really trying to balance, our need for flexibility with not trying to spook them so that they feel like they're holding the bag after the fact and need to come down hard on us. One of the things I wanted to say earlier that I forgot to say is, really look for the small wins that you can do for your customers or clients or members. We had the New York Department of Financial Services come out with a request to all of the big financial institutions, both banks and non-banks, saying,
Bill, you got to. You're cutting out a little bit.
okay, is that better?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. My cell phone was going off. I think that might have had something to do with it. But, they came out with a request for all these large institutions to report like 40,000 data points and gave like 2 weeks. And we were able to go back to them and say, look, we're happy to report to this stuff after the fact, but we're right in the middle of a crisis and are trying to make sure that customers are being served. Believe it or not, we got New York to listen, and it's not going to be the end of the world or anything. But you know what? A nice little victory that demonstrates some value to your members or client. And it goes a long way.
No question. Thanks, Bill. Mark, you had something to say there.
Just to kind of reiterating, someone earlier said keeping routines. I mean, from a personal health standpoint and keeping sharp personally to be able to make these tough decisions, I think kind of keeping some normalcy and some routines. I mean, I'm still coming to the office. I'm still doing my run, each day. And the same with our team meetings. We're not canceling them or changing them. I mean, anything you can do to provide a sense of normalcy when there's so much turbulence going on. And, I think being overly, really being positive. There's so much negative. I feel like you have to be doubly positive to keep it somewhat neutral. So just some things I'm doing to try to keep my, sharp and be able to kind of logically think through all the issues that are coming at us all.
I know you're drinking a lot more wine now.
I do that sometimes.
I picked a lousy time to give it up for Lent.
Yeah, I gave up on that part. Well, you know what, guys? We're at 1:55. I know you guys are really busy. I hope this was a good forum for you guys. Frank, Rob, really appreciate your words of wisdom for us. And I wish you guys all the best of luck as you're going through this tough time. And I probably will reach out to you all again in a couple weeks if this thing is still carrying on, and set up another forum.
Muted yourself again, Jack.
You know, if maybe I should get an administrator. I could bring my son. My son's working from home and he knows what he's doing. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. But anyway, to just get back together and see how things are going. So really appreciate the opportunity to bring you guys together. And you know, I'm as Brunson and Frank and Rob and John and Bob can attest. Give me a call if you need to vent. I'm here for you.
This was great. Guys, thank you.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
I don't know if we're going to be here in a
Send that
couple of
stuff.
weeks, but we're going to go down swinging, man.
Yeah, amen.
All
Hey,
right.
Frank, if you could send that stuff, that information on that company you guys have,
I
that'd be
will,
great.
I will share with everyone on the call.
Thank you.
Cool.
Jack,
Thanks, guys.
Here, guys.
Jack, I
Hang in
got
there.
some SBA information.
See you guys.